darn ghost again. We're going to have to move.
We're not moving. He is.
Who are you going to call?
Ghostbusters! And Ghostbusters in training. Hello, and welcome to the 5 do's and 84 don'ts of Proton Pack maintenance and repair. I'm Guy Orgate, and I'll be your guide to the exciting world of paranormal hardware safety procedures and regulations. Now, first off, let's make sure you're in the right spot. This class covers the use and maintenance of classic cyclotron-based proton packs for use in paranormal investigation and elimination. This class does not cover rocket packs or jet packs. Sometimes there's some confusion there. Now that you know you're in the right place, let's get started. As you know, the heart of the proton pack is the cyclotron, a type of particle accelerator. It produces high-energy, positively charged particle streams quickly and reliably by forcing ions outward from the center of the flat cylindrical chamber you see here along a spiral path. Held to that trajectory by a static magnetic field and accelerated by a rapidly varying RF field, doing so with almost none of the muss and fuss of linear accelerators. It really is your best friend out in the field. Now, Guy, you might be saying, wouldn't a portable, self-contained cyclotron be worth millions to the medical field for use in imaging technologies? Why are we using it to catch ghosts for a few $100 a pop? Well, that's an excellent question, and it's got a simple and believable answer. Moving on, in order to access the Ramus board of your cyclotron, it is first absolutely necessary that you disable the reverse polarity nanoencabulators located under the shock mount of the synchronous generator. This must be done after disconnecting flow from the HGA using the clippered control valve leading to the injector frame. Set the valve flow to 11, unless your setting only goes to 10, in which case the correct value is 14. Now, do not disable the nanoencabulators unless the main power from the PPD has been shut off completely. The nanoencabulators are the only things preventing total protonic reversal in the case of localized ionic phase superposition, or, in the vernacular, crossing the streams. Operation without properly calibrated nanoencabulators will result in voiding of any product warranties, possible injury or death, and the loss of membership privileges in our Customer Appreciation Prize Club. Please make sure that your nanoencabulators are of the latest version specification as you remove them. If not, you'll have to upgrade the entire Shelby assembly when you reassemble the mounting frame later. How can you tell if you have the correct, updated generalized encabulator design? Well, the original device had a base plate of prefabulated amulite, surrounded by a malleable logarithmic casing in such a way that the two main spurving bearings were in direct line with the panametric fan. The latter consisted simply of 6 hydrocoptic Marsal vanes, so fitted to the amphipation lunar wane shaft that the side routing was effectively prevented. The main winding was of the normal Lotus O-deltoid type, placed in panodermic semi-boloid slots into the stator, every 7th conductor being connected by a non-reversible Dremel pipe to the differential girdle spring on the up end of the Grammeters. In the updated version, the winding is reversed, and the spurving bearings are replaced with Dunsel arms and a set of rapidly spinning quadratic laser capacitors. When performing the checkout of the Grammeter parameterization, please remember that the field equations necessary to calculate the parameter values will only coalesce in the framework of modified Newtonian dynamics. If you use a derivative gravity framework, you must adjust the calculations using a dynamics adjustment table, such as the one found in Appendix 22 of your maintenance guide. Do not use the table listed in Appendix 12 of the fabrication package, as that was made obsolete when the hydrocoptic Mersel vanes were deleted in the 1989 design changes that are documented in the field guide updated 91-B. This is a simple mistake to make, but one that could cost you full use of your proximal phalanges, and in extreme cases, overheated spurving bearings can cause permanent damage to your thenar eminence or epididymis. That brings us to our first don't of Proton Pack maintenance. Don't remove the spurving bearings of the Nano Encabulator without disabling the panometric fan. Doing so is not only dangerous, but it will also mean you'll have to recalibrate every single PPD connection in the Ramus board by hand, taking into account the modial interaction of magnetoreluctance and capacitive directance based on the color change of the gluon energy flow in the power cell. That's not how I'd want to spend my Saturday evening. On the other hand, do make sure to supply inverse reactive current to the unilateral phase detractors in the ion arm, even in cases where the Nano Encabulator frequency settings are in the high output limited quadrant of the risk matrix. Number 14, do not overload the Nano Encabulator matrix. Remember that the encabulator works by binding the asymmetric Kubernetes framework architecture to the Schrödinger wave function values. Do not override the preset matrix enumerations unless you've already completed flushing the electroplasma conduit. And do number 3, always wear sunscreen. It's completely opaque to UV light. Haha. That's my little joke. Don't number 17. When you're adjusting the default settings of the relays in the Shelby frame at this point, don't use the values in the adjustment table of Appendix 22 if your value for I is different than the square root of -1. In this case, do use the default notional ad hoc correction coefficient from Appendix 23. This would be do number 4, but we'll call it number 3 because the sunscreen thing was just a joke. Seriously though, you should wear sunscreen. The high-energy UV photons knock important electrons off your DNA molecules, and that's how skin cancer happens. Also wearing a disposable coverall, shoe covers, and gloves, and one of the pre-approved pocket dosimeters. A grounding strap is also recommended because all life as you know it's stopping instantaneously, and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light. And if that occurs, flush the affected area with warm water for at least 15 minutes, and do not induce vomiting. Finally, a note on hardware compatibility. 5 years ago, our friends at Sony released a new model of Cyclotron-based Proton Packs. Those are going to have a Faraday cage for added protection instead of just the 4 cyclotron lights you see here. If that's the case for you, you should not have taken the course you just completed. Instead, you're going to want Class HZ-101. Please contact our support line to make sure that the appropriate class is added to your learning structure flowchart. It's only a small additional fee. And remember, since it's a Sony product, you won't be able to use that system to do anything with anyone who may be using other systems of the same hardware generation. They just aren't going to be compatible. That concludes Section 1 of 15 for this online course. Please continue on to the next section, PV-02B, in your learning course agenda. For those of you just beginning our new hire orientation process, please remember that all sections of this course must be completed before you begin live fire training with the real Proton Pack. Once again, I'm Guy Orgate reminding you, safety first.